really just depends on your perspective. Yeah? I don't think it is correct to say that at any one point in time, thinking among Muslims comes to a standstill. How can I think that is maybe creativity is less in one particular area of thought, but there is always be one area of thought. Otherwise, the Islamic civilization itself is just simply at a closed shop. So I think I would like to appeal here, that's why when we discuss it, we are not bound to just the field of law or of the Sharia, but what about philosophy? Can we be creative Islamic philosophy? Can we exercise Ijtihad? Of course, all in Islamic context. Because in Islamic perspective, we do not think, we do not do thinking simply for the sake of thinking. It's always there's a purpose to everything that we do. And this is where knowledge about Islamic epistemology is important. So as I in my, what I intended to do here in my paper, and when we examine our paper later, inshallah, first of all, it is to begin with definition of Islamic studies. When we say that the theme is innovation and entrepreneurship in contemporary Islamic studies, what do we mean by Islamic studies? Well, the scope of Islamic studies has changed over the decades. I think the Yang Muhammad Fahim, Badruddin, makes it that clear among the scholars, among the ulama, among the fuqaha, and so on, among the different groups of the ulama. And of course, the sociologists, anthropologists, the field, the scope of Islamic studies has changed. The change occurs. Why do we have a change? Well, because I think more important is, of course, what is the changing reality, but the thinking of the Muslim, the understanding of Islam among the Muslims has also changed. Yeah? So during the Orientalist time of the heyday of West Orientalism, of course, what I mean by Islamic studies, Arabic studies rather than Islamic studies. The term was Arabic studies, not Islamic studies. The word was Arabic science, not Islamic science. Because the word Islamic really did not emerge until later. So and then of course what we mean by Islamic also has changed and diversified. So that is important in our discussion. When we want to talk about this Islamic studies now, contemporary Islamic studies. So it's not the traditional Islamic studies, it's not just Islamic studies, because there is also the question of should we include as Islamic studies the concept of Islam and economics? Yes. So to make it short, I think when the Islamic studies, any study that pertains to Islam, But then our understanding of religion and civilization of Islam has expanded, and therefore Islamic studies has expanded. But then the attempt covered by the various Islamization of knowledge attempt. So basically, the agenda, intellectual agenda called Islamization of knowledge has left. There's nothing left untreated. Basically, the Islamization of knowledge deals with all branches of knowledge. So, if you take that, then Islamic studies is a very, very comprehensive. But I understand Yang Muhammad Fahim Badruddin, who was also talking more about Islamic, about the context in Brunei. About the context in Brunei, when I talked to him privately, and said, when he appeals for a broadening of the field called Islamic studies, but he did not want, when Islamic studies only used of Usuluddin, Sharia, understood in the classical sense, but he was also talking about, clearly from his speech, is what Islamic political science, Islamic international relations. That how do we deal with the changing political realities, the global realities in international relations, and so on. And of course, nowadays, the question of Islamic finance, banking, insurance, yeah, there's another. But always based on Sharia. So in sense, a Sharia-based Islamic studies, that have to expand. It have to expand its concern with many branches of modern knowledge. And then, of course, I think coming back again in a sense to the fourth term. These are key. To me, if you ask me, what is the Islamic philosophy of change? I think there are many words that can be used to deal with change, about change, but to me, at the level of ideas, the four concepts, Tajdid, Ijtihad, Tajdid, Islah, and Bid'ah are fundamental to us, are very important to us in trying to understand change. And of course, we are confined to educational change as far as this conference is concerned, educational change, and how do we manage this change? I think that is the challenge that we are facing. For my particular paper, there is more on how to harmonize permanence and change in objectives, epistemic content, methods, and approaches. So I'm just dealing here with the meaning of this. Yeah? So I said in my website, the fundamental assumption main is that the best kind of educational curriculum, including the field of Islamic studies, would be one in which elements and features of permanence and change are duly harmonized. So the question of harmony, yeah, and what President Badar said what? How to strike a balance. How to strike a balance between no change, yeah, the belief among some Muslims, you cannot change Islamic studies. You can change everything else, but not Islamic studies. You cannot you cannot change Islam, but it would be wrong to assume that under Islamic studies we are only dealing with permanent things. I think that's it. But in certain contexts also, the other extreme is what should the stand, the position that there should be every now and then there should be change, what you call excessive change. So how to strike that? My view is that we cannot strike that balance unless we have a clear picture of what Islamic epistemology is, or what Islamic theory of knowledge is. And this is here that based on our own legacy, intellectual legacy, we have the mechanism. We have the epistemological mechanism to deal with that balance. We also have the example of this is the Fardu Ain and Fardu Kifaya decision. Yeah? So in other words, what do you mean by Fardu Ain? What do you mean by Fardu Kifaya? Yeah? Especially the Fardu Kifaya thing, because that is the dynamic thing. Yeah? It's the concept of knowledge that society must have, not the popular understanding of the Fardu Kifaya knowledge, but here about that. Because the definition is the kind of knowledge that society as a whole must have. If that society as a whole doesn't have it, then that society is going to face a lot of problems, to be imperiled by all changes. Yeah? So I think although in empirical terms, only a certain group of people, certain number of people would study this group of knowledge called the qualified knowledge. It's obligatory on society, not only individual. But then comes the question. This knowledge, since problems always grow and develop. In the sense that let's take the example of the classical example of medicine, science of medicine, as a good example of the knowledge of Kifaya, as emphasized by Al-Ghazali in many of his writing. But then the idea that society must have the medical knowledge, without which there will always be health problems and so on. But then, say, when will have enough? The question is, when will have enough medical doctors, health officers? We cannot say that this is one when we will have enough. Yeah? That is the dynamic nature of this kind of knowledge, because society is in need of the professionals in every field at all time. So this is changing nature of the kind of knowledge that we have to face. This is what I mean. It's a good example of how to deal with this change. So each university, for the university leadership must understand this. We cannot come up with good curriculum design. It's not just designing curriculum, but how to organize our knowledge, how to organize them to achieve the kind of the balance that we are talking about. How can a university president be able to achieve this task? He and his team, or she and the team. It must be in the light of this epistemology. So you cannot expect to attain this balance just depending on specialists. The people who know only one field of knowledge, who are specialists in engineering and so on. That's why we have to listen to the addresses, for example, given by past Harvard presidents over the decades. Always the question of that person, that president, for example, must have a broader vision of things, not specialists. Not the kind of what once the former vice president or the vice chancellor of University of Malaya, Oppenheim, before Unku Aziz, before Royal Professor Unku Aziz became the first Malaysian vice chancellor. It was the British, he was British for the vice chancellor, and his name was Oppenheim, a mathematician. I'm a mathematician, but the point is there have been many mathematicians who have led university. Let's miss some thought. That is the, what do you call this? What is said this? Who are the specialists? The specialists are people who know more and more about less and less. Know more and more about less and less. Can we depend on that kind of alone? No. I think that is important. So I just tend to explain here the concept unity. I would like to talk about this, how to harmonize permanence and change. But I combine into four. Why four? Why in four areas? Objectives, epistemic content, method, and approach. Because whether we are talking in the Islamic tradition or in the Western tradition, basically the structure of each discipline, of each academic discipline, comprises of four elements. Yeah? Objectives, but in other words, what are the objectives of that discipline? Say, if we deal anthropology, what are the objectives of anthropology? What are the immediate objectives? What is the purpose of having anthropology? And then the epistemic content. This pertains to the scope, the subject matter. What is the subject matter of each discipline? What is the epistemic content? What is the subject matter of anthropology? What is anthropology? Anthropology is a study of man. You could say, what is anthropology? Anthropology is the study of man. The anthropos, the study of the anthropos. But then, what is our concept of man? What is our concept of man? Is man There, I think what is just simply that two legs up straight creature walking who happens to have brain to be able to think. But what is the content of the human being? The entity called human being itself. What is the content of that entity? So I think here we have the content. So therefore, our anthropology, the kind of anthropology that we create, we cultivate, develop, we depend on our standing of man, of anthropos. Of course, here the transgender man is not the male and female, it can be an anthropos as the human being that transcends gender. So then methods. It is very important here, if you want to run permanence and change here. What are the permanent things about method? From the Islamic perspective, of course we accept the Quran, in other words, the divine revelation, as one of the avenues to knowledge. Yes. Therefore, and of course, the nature of the Quran is such that our scholars in the past have accepted the linguistic method as the study in all fields. That's why we have linguistic tafsir, exegesis. We have linguistic exegesis. There are many kinds of exegesis of tafsir, one of which is, of course, linguistic. Why so important for us? Linguistics is so important to us. Because the Quran is the word of God verbatim. The word of God. There was a reason why, from our point of view, there is a reason why God chose Arabic as a language of revelation and not Malay or, well, not Urdu didn't exist before. And all the Greek and so on. There must be a reason. God cannot make it accidental. Can say that it was accidental that Arabic became, no, there's a reason. And therefore, that will influence the question of methodology, that method. So linguistic method is not a new method. Has been a method ever since Islam was born, ever since the whole Quran was revealed. So I think that just to emphasize that. But even the question of the so-called scientific method, you have the major aspect of this of the scientific method and the technical. We should distinguish between the meaning of method, scientific method, as a basic concept called scientific method, rather than the technical methods. Which keep on changing with technology. That is changing. So we have to emphasize there are changing and unchanging aspects of methodology in all branches of knowledge. Before, modern scientists used the scientific method, the empirical method. Muslim scientists have used that very, 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 very widely since Al-Kindi. We're talking about 8th century, has already used empirical method in the study of medicine and so on. But now, the so-called quantitative method. So, yes, quantitative methods have changed. Our PhD students, when they write proposal and so on, they talk about qualitative method, quantitative method. But even the so-called quantitative, I find that the so-called qualitative method, they are also actually quantitative. And they call it qualitative. So it's confusion between qualitative and quantitative. And of course, approaches. The methods and approaches. I think this is emphasized. I just want to say that that's why in the case of Islamic epistemology, there is the understanding that different branches of knowledge need different methodologies. It does not accept the idea that there is only one single method, the so-called scientific method, that applies to every branch of knowledge and nothing else, no other. That we accept diversity of methods, and what method to use, that depends on the nature of the subject being studied. In mathematics, for example, of course the method will be different. from, say, from chemistry. Political science, dealing with human beings, have to be different from biology that deals, let's say, zoology that deals with animals. It cannot be the same. So we need to examine all these issues. I don't know to solve that, but we want to listen to Professor Kamal, which, as I said, is going to be the most essential. But let me close this. Then we have altogether 16 speakers in various aspects. I have situated, already I have designed a program. I must say that I'm not giving a kind of, let's say, to make sure everybody get the same amount of time. I consider also the importance of the topic. Who's going to speak? I'm sorry, I'm applying democracy here, but I think it is just to assure that the purpose of this conference is realized. Yeah? So, therefore, what do you call this? It is over 2.5 days that you have to be here. Inshallah, I hope the various dimensions, the various aspects of the theme will be discussed. I know that the theme is, even by the meeting today, the theme is so wide. It's so wide, but at least we are able to deliberate on some of the more urgent ones. And in this conference, we have some new emerging colleges who are trying to do very good new problem. I like the idea of ilmu kalam, the new kalam, especially when our speakers were talking about this come out from the Indian tradition, from the Indian continental tradition, more from India rather than Pakistan and Bangladesh. From the when you talk about this new kalam, this again. I remember with triple IT program in Turkey some years back in Istanbul, we were talking about ummatic sciences. From the ummah, we got ummatic sciences. The Muslim ummah needs new ummatic sciences, or new interpretation. What is an example of ummatic science? Kalam. Because kalam was born specifically with the special purpose to respond to challenges from outside to the Muslim to the identity of the Muslim, especially in terms of theology or ilmu kalam. That. So we have from Turkey, for example, from Turkey, who is supposed to arrive now. They will join us this afternoon. So, thank you. They will talk about in terms of the Professor Muzaffar, more in terms of the institutional role. But Professor Bilal, it's very interesting, is going to talk about how to deal with it. Should there be change in the teaching of Islamic philosophy? He's going to look at the field of Islamic philosophy. In the light of modern Western philosophy, how should we deal with the field of Islamic philosophy? Can there be a synthesis between the two? The classical Islamic philosophy and the modern Western philosophy? That has to be addressed. I think the idea of synthesis seems to be the idea that should run through all this. The idea of synthesis. And as Islam, what is the mission of Islam? The mission of Islam is synthesis. The raison d'être of Islam is synthesis. Yeah? The purpose of Islam is synthesis. Can there be a synthesis of Islamic science, classical Islamic science, and modern science? How? The world is waiting for us. Is it possible? I'm repeating here the point I stressed in Singapore recently when I was invited by Darussalam in a School of International Studies, because I was asked to speak about about synthesis, can be synthesized Islamic and Western knowledge for the needs of humanity. And I said, yes, in principle it is possible. We must apply Tawhidic epistemology to bring about that synthesis. There is a grand synthesis, of course, but also smaller synthesis at the various levels of the academic disciplines. In economics, can we create synthesis in economics? Classical Islamic economics and modern economics. Yeah? I think I just want to emphasize that. So thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.